there's no reason to believe that it would be really transient, because that's not the way usually memory works. But until we're actually at the point where we know that information, I think it's kind of premature to know how many times we'd have to get this vaccine, or whether it would be. Some infectious diseases give you long-term protection for the rest of your life, and others wane over time. And in this particular vaccine, it induces a strong antibody response that's thought to be the main protective aspect. And it's not known whether that will wane over time and we'll have to get a booster, or whether there's other components to our immune system that would take over, like T cells, and would then provide additional immunity.
So by 10 days, you start seeing the placebo patients and the patients getting vaccines starting to separate, where the placebo patients continue to get infected and the patients that get vaccine either, well, don't get disease. I don't think we know whether these vaccines actually prevent infection. They prevent disease. And then the second point is that these clinical trials are really designed to go out 2 years. Now, whether people actually get followed for 2 years, because everything's changing, right? The placebo arms, everyone's getting vaccinated. So how long it lasts is part of the idea of doing one of these 2-year trials. Potentially, if something untoward happens late, that would be identified, but mostly it's to make sure that people are still immune 2 years. The other thing that has come up, right, is that the virus is changing, and whether these mutants end up getting to the point where the vaccines wouldn't be as effective anymore is unclear. At this point, the mutations that have been identified seem to be at least neutralized in the laboratory by the antibodies that are generated by the vaccine. But ultimately, what we don't know is if this is going to end up being like influenza vaccine, where we have to get vaccinated at a given time period, probably not annually, but maybe every 2 years or every 3 years, or whether this will be like measles, where you get a second booster at some point and you never have to get it again. That's unclear, but because these are so-called RNA viruses, part of the way they survive is to mutate. And so they're going to keep changing. The more people that get infected, at least in my way of thinking, the more people that get infected, the more diversity we're going to see in the virus. And if it gets to the point where the diversity allows it to escape the immune response that the vaccines generate, then we're going to need to modify the vaccines.